Lijep pozdrav iz studija UNIDU TV-a. Ja sam Klara Zuanić, a veliko mi je zadovoljstvo ugostiti veleposlanicu Sjedinjenih Američkih Država, njezinu ekscelenciju Nathalie Rayes. Naravno, u ovom intervjuu razgovarat ćemo na engleskom jeziku. Hello, Your Excellency, Madam Ambassador Rayes, and welcome to our TV studio.
Thank you for having me here, Clara. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm glad.
I'm good. So you assumed office on January 25th, so you've been here around 3 months, almost 4. What were some cultural shocks that you experienced coming here, and are there still any that make you go, oh, what is this?
Well, I've had such a pleasant experience, and so I don't think that I could say that I had a cultural shock in any way. The Croatian people are very friendly and open to the United States, and so I've really enjoyed the few months that I've been here. I did arrive in January 20th, and I presented my credentials to the president on January 25th. And it's been the most pleasant experience. So the bilateral relationship between the United States and Croatia has never been better. And the people of Croatia really has a love for the United States and the people of the United States. So I'm very lucky to serve as ambassador here to Croatia.
You are a very open person, we can say. It's, open to discovering new cultures and, let's say, new foods, such as sirnica, or how we call it in Dubrovnik, pinca, which is a traditional Dalmatian Easter bread. You made it with Chef Mario, if I'm not mistaken. How was it? How do you find the food here, let's say?
Well, I love food. And I love Croatian food. And so I've had a great experience the last few months exploring the great cuisine, the very diverse cuisine here in Croatia. And so pinca was fun to make. I love Easter and Easter traditions. And so I heard about this Easter bread called pinca. Well, Dalmatia, they call it pinca. And I said to Chef Mario, let's try and let's do it together. And so he immediately said yes, and I enjoy cooking. And it was fun. It was fun. I also had another Easter tradition that I had no idea about, the Easter fight, where you boiled hard eggs and you hit them. And so I think that it's so important that you embrace all cultures and the diversity of culture, different foods and different traditions. And so I'm having a great time exploring the different diverse culture and experiences throughout Croatia. You
also had another, we can say, sort of American tradition. I remember seeing it on, American movies. You organized an egg hunt.
Yes. So I do that at my house, and actually we did it for Easter Sunday as well, Easter egg hunt. So I hide the eggs, and people go and look for them. All the kids do, and my kids are now 14 and 13, but you're never too old to partake in Easter traditions. Even my mother thought she was going to be able to go hunting for eggs. I said, no, Mom, you're disqualified from doing it. And one other thing that we do is Easter egg rolls, where you have a hard egg and a wooden stick, and you take it from a starting line to the end of the line, the finish line, and whoever wins, gets a prize. And so we do that in our house, and it was so great because we had the embassy family come and partake in those traditions, and it was nice to see the local staff participating. In the U.S. Embassy, we have 150 local staffers, Croatians, that are the lungs of the embassy, and so they were also there with their children. That brought me great joy.
So what are some things that you like about Croatia, and what are some things that you miss about America?
Well, I love the United States of America, and I love Croatia. I think that, I miss my friends, but they're all coming to visit me here in Croatia. As I was sharing, I think that, obviously tourism is booming here in Croatia, but with my friends coming, it's going to be a great year for Croatia on tourism front. They all want to come visit. And but I love the openness of the Croatian people and as I said, the hospitality and the love for living and the joy that they have for family and community and culture. And so again, I think that I'm enjoying being here, living here, and being fully immersed in Croatia.
How did you find the coffee culture that goes around here, sitting in cafes for hours, sipping on coffee?
So, that's why I love food, because I love to sit and partake in conversations, and food is something that brings people together for hours. And I like to host people in my home, and I like to go to restaurants and be in conversation and community with people. So the coffee culture is a culture that I know very, very well. Being from Latin America as well, we can sit for coffee for a long time. and time just goes. But so much is done through coffee, and so a lot of work gets done. So I don't want to say that we're sitting down and not doing much, but we're really working on changing the future for the better. And so I love it. I mean, I do love coffee and everything about it.
I'm glad you mentioned that you're from Latin America, because you were back in the States. Before you were an ambassador, you were a president and CEO of Latino Victory. You were also President Biden's appointee to the U.S. Institute of Peace. You have a very, very successful career. What was maybe your favorite moment?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now, sitting with you. I think that it's so nice to be here in Dubrovnik and with students and with people like you that are going to be the stars of our community and of your country. So it brings me great joy to be here. Being an ambassador is where I've wanted to be my whole life, and so I'm enjoying every moment of it. And so I've had great experiences. As I look back at my trajectory, I can't say, oh, I regret doing this or I should have done this. I feel like, every moment got me here. And so I look back at my life and I'm very proud of everything that I've accomplished.
So maybe this is your first time in Dubrovnik as an ambassador, but it's not your first time because you honeymooned with your husband here 17 years ago.
Well, you're pretty impressive. You've done your research. Yes, I did. It was in June of 2007, so it's going to be 17 years in June. We went to Korčula and to Dubrovnik, and so it brings great memories. Yesterday, I toured your walls and was in the heart of the city, of the old city, and I remember it vividly. And so it's wonderful to be here.
How did you choose Dubrovnik? A lot of tourists now choose it because of Game of Thrones and TV shows and movies, but back then it was just a gorgeous town with just culture too.
That's right. That's absolutely the case. So I love to travel, and I love culture and people. And so when I was planning my honeymoon, I said, where do I want to go? I want to come to Croatia. And so yes, that was before the big boom of your tourism into Dubrovnik or into Croatia in general. And so, but 17 years ago, I guess I was, paving the way for the American tourists that now get to enjoy the beautiful city.
So going back to your career, what are some of your plans? Do you have any already underway for, your mandate?
Yeah, well, my number one goal is to continue the bilateral relationship, the strong bilateral relationship that the United States and Croatia are currently experiencing. Croatia has done incredible things in the last 30 years. I mean, let's not forget that 30 years ago, you were going through a terrible homeland war. And within 30 years, you really transformed yourself into the country that you are today, a flourishing country, part of Europe, and part of NATO and Schengen area and the Eurozone. And so for us as Americans, it's just continuing in this right direction and continuing to work together in every front, in security and defense and culture and all the other things in business. So I will continue in that path.
So as you mentioned, you were very local, you were a spokesperson about Latino rights back in the States, as well as equal rights for men and women. Is that maybe the path that you will also take on here?
Yeah, well, our bilateral relationship really centers around the Russian influence and the war in Ukraine. So that's something that we will continue working on, making sure that our NATO allies stay close to the fight in Ukraine. And Croatia has been an incredible country as it relates to making sure that taking on 28,000 Ukrainians here in Croatia as refugees and funding close to $250 million in military aid for Ukraine. So that's something that we'll continue working on. And as it relates to human rights, obviously that's something that is the core of America and the core of NATO and our European allies. And so it will be something that I will focus on as well. But Croatia has been also leading by example on human rights.
So you mentioned now that you're an open person, but you also mentioned in your introductory video posted on X by the U.S. Embassy Zagreb that you would like for people to come up to you and tell them your story, their stories.
Yes, I do, because I think that, at times we do a lot of talking and not that much listening, and it's important to listen to the community where we live. And so, I want to get to know people. I think that I have things to share, but I think I have lots to learn as well. And so that's part of what it is to be an ambassador. I think that we have to also listen to people and hear their stories and get to know the country that we get to live in.
So, final question, but I think it's quite obvious because you grew up in California. Whataburger or In-N-Out?
In-N-Out. In-N-Out is my favorite. Are you kidding me? It's so delicious. I actually, every time I land at LAX, there's an In-N-Out burger right next to the airport, and I make sure going home and coming back, I grab my little burger. It's delicious. And the French fries of In-N-Out are pretty delicious too.
I've heard, so I have to try them. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting you.
Oh, it's been my honor. Thank you very much for having me here.
Bila je to veleposlanica Sjedinjenih Američkih Država Nathalie Rayes. S vama je bila Klara Zuanić.